your heart feel light.
Do y'all notice that accent comes and goes? I think he just, that's called puking in the radio business, where you throw on a different style of talking in order to build up your career or distinguish you, the way a Milo Hamilton or Harry Carey or Callis in St. Louis, the way they do that, maybe Joe Gomez in Houston, maybe Steyn's just faking that accent anyway.
Yeah, you might be onto something there. I mean, I find when I'm on the radio that it actually gets quite tricky keeping it up for the full 3 hours. So if I'd known that, I would have picked an easier one to do.
Well, it's like, have you seen the movie Hugo, Martin Scorsese's 3D?
No, I haven't seen that.
It's a great movie about a little boy that lives in a train station. He works the clock, and he brings to it's Scorsese's tribute to Méliès, this great, supposedly great French movie producer of the late 19th, early 20th century, whose stuff was melted down by the French because they needed it for plastic for the war effort during World War I. But during the course of that, because it's being filmed in France by an American production company, the cast all speak with English accents that come and go. And I'm thinking, wait a second, we're in France. Why are we speaking with English accents? And the accents come and go.
Yeah. No, I like that. I like it when you see a film set in ancient Rome. All the Roman emperors are wandering around talking like they're ordering lunch in Mayfair.
Right, exactly.
It's just you have to stand by tradition on some of that.
Received pronunciation was the style of speaking in ancient Rome. I'm sure that's the case.
Yeah. I'm all for that. I like bad guys. By the way, I like bad guys who speak with British accents, because I love the way that in Hollywood you've got to be so ethnically sensitive that it's easiest just to make the villain a guy with an English accent, because they don't count as an ethnic minority.
Fat people and English teeth are the last two things you can make fun of in this country.
Absolutely. Long may they remain so.
There you go. To save the republic. Back to this presidential election. So, if Mitt Romney is the nominee, which, God forbid, could happen, how bad are things?
I think there's a basic, there's, in theory, all the arguments that people make to persuade themselves why a Romney candidacy wouldn't be so bad. They're all true if everything goes according to plan. But the point about presidential elections is they don't go according to plan. And you've got to be able to think on your feet. And I don't think, for example, Mitt is quite nimble enough when things start to go awry. I mean, I think there's basic likability issues there too. I mean, it's not that there's anything wrong with him, and he's obviously got a devoted wife and a family that loves him and all of that, and he's obviously got friends. But there is something he doesn't warm up on the campaign trail. And I think that's something it's very hard to get beyond. And why I worry, the reason I worry about it, Michael, is because it staggers me that people are still so ignorant about the crisis that America finds itself in. I mean, what I find weird is that there are still people out there who think that, if we just had another $1 trillion stimulus, if we just made healthcare even more expensive, if we just increased the benefits of Medicare a bit more, everything. There are still people out there, a big chunk of the population, that has no idea that we are broke, that we are absolutely broke, and that if we don't turn this around by mid-decade, we pass the point of no return. So people always talk about, it's the most important election of our lifetimes. But actually this one, you can objectively, statistically make that claim for.
Which is a perfect segue to the book. It's called After America. I'll say the name 10 times so you don't have to. So tell your publisher, when they listen to the audio file, why you didn't push the book 10 times is because I did it for you.
That's good, because it always looks unsubtle if the author just keeps saying the name of the book.
Yes, and I had Michelle Bachmann on the other day, and it was just terrible. She kept referencing the book, and I thought, are you selling a book or running for president? Or are they all bound up into one? It's unnerving, unsettling, dismaying, as you may say. And it's from the body of work of Mark Steyn, so you know the book is good, even though I've not read it yet. It's called After America. Is this part of the Fareed Zakaria from CNN's post-modern American, post-American modern world? Is that what this is about?
No, I would say Fareed Zakaria has a different view than mine. He thinks that America isn't declining, but that other powers such as China and India are rising, and we will be back in a multipolar world of great prosperity and globalization. I take the opposite view, which is that, according to the IMF, by 2016, China will become the world's biggest economy. Now, that will mean, by the way, that the guy we elect next November will find himself in a position that no American president has been in since Grover Cleveland. He will be the number 2 guy. In other words, the guy we elect next November will be the last president of the United States to preside over the world's dominant economy. I think that fact should shame every single American citizen into demanding a candidate pledged to reverse that, because this isn't when the United States took over from Britain. One can make the case for kind of Anglo-American continuity over the last 2 centuries and Anglo-European continuity over the last half millennium. The Chinese see this as a once every half millennium civilizational shift. The number 1 economy on the planet will be a communist Politburo with a peasant population, no real market, no property rights, and the idea that that is the nation that America is ceding global dominance to ought to be hugely embarrassing to Americans.
What would you, Mark Steyn, like to see the next presidential candidate or the next president say with regard to Chinese policy? Because Biden seems to be bowing to them and suggesting that their one-child policy is great and wishing that he could speak Chinese so that he could flatter them, even though it's not technically Chinese as a language, but he's too stupid to know that. And then you see Trump, who, when he was flirting with, at least pretending he was a presidential candidate, saying he would talk tough to the Chinese, which I think a lot of people would like. What would you like to see that policy look like?
Well, yeah, but just to follow that through, I mean, I've got a lot of time for Donald Trump because he's tonally very appealing, and you want someone to, take the fight in that manner. But let's suppose he did sit down opposite the Politburo and say, "Listen, you SOBs," as he put it, this is the way it's going to be. They'd say, "Well, wait a minute, you're $15 trillion in debt. We weren't the ones who told you to take $1 trillion of stimulus and toss it out the window and watch it float into the Potomac and out to sea. We weren't the ones who passed Obamacare. We weren't the ones who massively expanded Medicare. You guys did that. We're not the ones who pass a bazillion regulations on every itsy-bitsy aspect of life in America. You guys did that to yourself." And I think as tempting as it is to start blaming speaking as a sinister foreigner, as tempting as it is to blame sinister foreigners for America's woes, in the end,
see no sinisters. I like this.
Well, in the end, though, Michael, the next president has to speak some tough truths to the American people and say we're shrinking the government, we're eliminating these agencies, we're eliminating these departments, we're rolling back millions of regulations, and we're liberating the potential of the American people again. Because if we can't do that, I mean, the most stupid development of the last couple of days has been that the United States has pledged itself to somehow try and prop up the euro and the eurozone.
Right.
And Greece and Italy.
Mark, we're out of time in this block. I've not mentioned After America, but if you stayed on for another segment, I'd do it at least 20 more times.
Okay, you got it.
All right. Stay tuned for more of Mark Steyn. I've outlived my welcome, but you will be the beneficiary. More of his music, more of his thought, and more about his book, After America, coming up.